Joining me for analysis is adjunct senior fellow at the Center for New American Security, Duyeon Kim. She is also a columnist for the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. She joins us from Seoul via Skype. Duyeon, thank you so much for joining us. Good to see you. As Paula was detailing just now, you know, what was reached today in Pyongyang, this sweeping, ambitious agreement, but is there enough substance to move the process of denuclearization forward?
You know, based on the joint statement and the press conference, what is known to us publicly, it does not move the ball forward at all. We're still in the same place. The North Koreans' pronouncements and supposed agreements, they're old news. The stuff about the Dongchangni missile engine test facility and launch pad, we've known this since June. And the key point is that they said a conditional statement that if the U.S. takes measures first, and then they're willing to consider, or they may start to dismantle Yongbyon. And so it puts the ball back in Washington's court. The vague wording of corresponding measures, we can assume that to be a declaration ending the Korean War or other steps. And so really, you know, I hate to pour cold water on this situation, but at the same time, you know, I say this because, you know, it's not anything new. It's nothing advancing, but we have to wait and see what details come out of Moon's meeting with Trump later in a week or two or so later this month. And we need to find out eventually what the North Koreans tell Washington in their own channel, because I did not expect this joint statement to publicly declare any specifics anyway.
Yeah, interesting to hear what you're saying. You're saying that the needle has not moved at all in terms of denuclearization. You know, now they're just, you know, kicking the can down the road. It's now to Donald Trump, you know, and both North and South Korea waiting for him to take the next step. You mentioned about the reciprocal action that North Korea expects from Donald Trump. You know, that could be agreeing to an end to the Korean War, could be ending sanctions, what have you. What could tangibly, you know, what could happen next? What could North Korea and the U.S. agree upon to take that next step towards peace and denuclearization?
You know, that's tough just because they're both trying to make the other side make the first move first. And so we're still in this waiting pattern. And so, the North has been saying all along that Washington needs to first declare the Korean War is over, and then it will consider certain steps. But you have Washington saying, no, you, North Korea, you have to either submit a nuclear inventory first or take other concrete, meaningful denuclearization measures, not this missile engine test sites and so forth that, you know, dismantling facilities that they don't need anyway. And so, you know, I guess a prudent or reasonable approach could be, you know, this whole phraseology that you hear, simultaneous actions, but even then, there's sequencing involved. And so even then, it deals with who goes first. And so for the U.S., even to make a symbolic declaration ending the Korean War that does not change the armistice, it would still need a proportionate, significant denuclearization measure from the North in order to even sign up on that.
Got it. Now, we're in this waiting game in terms of action and who's going to act first. But what about intention? You know, in particular, the intention of the North Korean leader. Is Kim Jong Un sincere about wanting to disarm?
You know, that remains to be seen. And, you know, this is, you know, based on history, the North Koreans, no, the answer is no. But we're dealing with a Kim Jong Un, a different leader under leading the North Korean regime. And so we have to test that. But, you know, if history is a guide, it's really easy to be skeptical. Now, there will be some experts, especially some South Koreans, who will point to the fact that Kim Jong Un uttered the word nuclear with his own mouth, that he said a Korean peninsula that has no nuclear weapons and no nuclear threat. And so they'll find that to be significant, and they'll say that they'll point to the agreement, the joint statement saying, see, he agreed upon this in writing. But, you know, really, This is between Washington and North Korea eventually, and we'll have to see how this pans out, how this plays out in that relationship. And really, it has to be concrete actions. It cannot be these symbolic measures and getting rid of things that they don't need anymore, because Kim Jong Un has said earlier this year he does not need to test parts anymore. He can just mass produce weapons. So if they're getting rid of facilities that they don't need, then that constitutes a step that's not meaningful towards denuclearization.
All right, Duyeon, always appreciate your analysis and your insight, parsing what was achieved today in Pyongyang and what it really means for the big prize, denuclearization on the peninsula. Duyeon Kim joining us live from Seoul. Thank you so much and take care.